Let's get into today's top stories. And as we go to air tonight, a humanitarian disaster is unfolding in Afghanistan following yesterday's deadly earthquake. More than 1,000 people have been killed. At least 2,000 homes have been reduced to rubble. Now, people are digging through the rubble with their bare hands, trying to find survivors. And a desperate Taliban is pleading for international aid.
It is very difficult for us to be able to respond to this huge incident. We ask from the international community to cooperate with us and continue their support.
Aid agencies that left the country after the Taliban takeover last year are rushing back to help. The UN has already sent medical supplies, food and emergency shelters. They face a mammoth task though. Current economic conditions are such that a third of the population is unable to meet basic needs.
The situation in the country is very difficult. This does add a lot to the daily burden of survival.
We're joined now by Lucien Christen from the International Committee of the Red Cross. Lucien, you're in neighbouring Uzbekistan right now, but I know you've just returned from Afghanistan. Can you give us a sense of what things are like in the disaster zone?
Sure. Look, the situation in the ground in the southeast of Afghanistan is disastrous at the moment. The earthquake who hit this region last night happened during the night, so people were not ready to exit their houses. Many thousands of houses collapsed with people still trapped there. There is a huge need in terms of medical supplies and as well as essential items. We are talking about clothes, food, water, shelter, cooking kits. So right now the aid is arriving on site and the needs are huge and growing by the hours.
Lucien, you're talking about all of those really, really important things that need to get out there on the ground. How challenging is it to get that aid where it's most needed?
This area of Afghanistan is a rural area in the mountains. So first of all, the roads are not necessarily good prior the earthquake, but now they're even more damaged. Heavy rain also hit this area a few days ago. So all of this makes it much more complicated. We also have information, you know, Afghanistan is a country that is heavily contaminated by explosive remnants of war. So we're talking about landmines, unexploded ordnances, etc. Because of the landslides and the earthquakes, some of those devices might have moved and resurfaced. So it makes it even more dangerous for the communities to move around and for the humanitarian workers to access this area.
Well, Lucien, as you've alluded to there, this region has been plagued by decades of conflict as well as economic sanctions and hardship since the Taliban took over. So how does all of that amplify the effects of a disaster like this?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Since the government changed in August 2021, we have seen a serious decrease in intensity in the fighting. In the same time, we have seen the departure of most of the development agencies and people who were supporting the Afghan society and projects. So what it means concretely for the Afghan community is that you don't have the financial support needed to continue to develop your infrastructure, such as health facilities, water supply, electricity supply. Addition to this, you have economic sanctions that are deepening an already very dire economic situation. You have inflation, you have droughts that are preventing people to farm as they do usually and then also generate incomes. And finally, you have the consequences of the Ukraine-Russia conflict, which had for effect an serious increase of basic commodities such as wheat flour. We're talking about a 68% increase of price since last year. Oil, gas, everything. So if you mix all that, you end up in a situation where for the average Afghan family, it's now almost impossible to put food on the table. It's estimated currently that 55% of the Afghan population is in need of humanitarian assistance.
Lucien, thank you so much for speaking to us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.